Hi, I'm Shane Jones. Making headlines tonight. Barbadians will be taking home more money at the end of this month. Changes in the offing for the island's criminal justice system. Barbados is looking to boost its exports. And coming up in sports, there will be a new World Cup winner as England goes through to meet New Zealand in the final.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Leading the news at 7, Barbadians can look forward to more take-home pay after tax deductions from the end of this month. That's when an income tax ease provided by the government takes effect. Just how much people will now take home will depend on each person's level of pay. Here to break down the numbers and give us an idea of what will happen is our Ryan Broom. Good evening, Ryan.
Good evening, Shane. Good evening, viewers. Well, it is first important to note that the rule of thumb here is that the people with higher salaries invariably pay more taxes on their income. Now, let's start with a scale that's just above the new annual threshold of $25,001 and $35,000, because as of next year, when income taxes are filed for income year 2019, workers in those salary ranges will qualify for a tax refund or credit. Now, for those who may not yet be aware, what you pay in income tax on a monthly basis is reflected in that line on your salary slip that says PAYE, which also means pay as you earn, and it is based on your gross or total salary before other deductions. Now, to make this more simple, we're actually going to leave off the cents and rounding everything to the nearest dollar. So with that said, let's start with a monthly salary of $3,000. Now, at present, someone earning $3,000 has to pay approximately $146 in PAYE. But from this month's paycheck, that person will be receiving about $32 more in their hand, as the PAYE deducted will now be $114 instead of $146. Now, someone who's earning $3,500 a month, who currently pays $226 in PAYE, will now pay $177 in PAYE for additional earnings of $49 a month. Now, as we move up the salary scale a little more, an employee now earning $4,000 pays $306 in PAYE at present, and they will now pay $239 in PAYE for additional earnings of $67 a month. Now to those who earn $4,500 a month. Now they currently pay $386 in PAYE, but that will now be reduced to $302 for additional earnings of $84 a month. Again, moving up the scale, those who make $5,000 a month now pay $466 in PAYE. But that monthly PAYE deduction will now be $364 for additional earnings of $102. Now, for those who earn $5,500 a month, your PAYE has been $634 up until now. But from month end, you will pay $427 for additional earnings of $207 a month. And for those who earn $6,000 a month, you have been paying $801 in PAYE every month, but you will now pay $489 for additional earnings of $312 a month. We go up again. If you are now earning $6,500 a month, your PAYE has been $985 a month. But your PAYE will now be $604, representing additional monthly income of $380. Now, as we get to the $7,000 per month bracket, if you're in that category, you would have been paying $1,185 in PAYE up to last month. But from this month, it will be $772, meaning you'll have $413 in additional monthly income. Now, we'll stop there for now. But Shane, in all, everybody will see an increase. But just how much that increase will be is heavily dependent on how much PAYE you currently pay, and also based on your salary scale. So certainly something to look forward to as July comes to an end in a couple of weeks, as all employers have been put on notice by the Barbados Revenue Authority to make the necessary changes to their salary and wage deductions for employees. It's back to you, Shane.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Of course, there's a take-home, it's more than earnings. Take-home, you get more to take home.
Yes, that's additional, or what you would not be paying in tax on a monthly basis, that you would have that as an additional. So it's a savings and more or less more in your pocket now than you would normally be paying the tax man, as we like to say.
Okay, thanks so much, Ryan. The court does not find itself in a conundrum as it relates to imposing the death penalty. This as Attorney General Dale Marshall responded forcefully to a report in another section of the media, which he says suggests that judges are in a bind. Mr. Marshall says while a judge is reported to have said there is indeed a conundrum because the Constitution has not been amended to facilitate hanging, he does not see it that way. He says all is in order for murder trials to proceed and for the death penalty to be imposed under law.
Arising out of the decision of the CCJ in the Barbadian case of Nervé and Severing, the Parliament of Barbados has acted to amend all such laws, including the Constitution, in order to permit our courts to impose the death penalty if warranted. I admit that there was an issue with the sole amendment to the Constitution that was rejected by the Senate, but that has been resolved and the Constitution has been amended accordingly and was proclaimed on the 4th of April this year.
The Attorney General also addressed the conduct of criminal trials in Barbados.
We had expected to put some additional criminal judges in place, but the fact is that people don't put their careers on hold. That we've had some challenges with the availability of the individuals. Those matters have now been resolved, and I expect that come the start of the court year in September, we will have those additional temporary judges in place, but also because of the active recruitment of new judges, we will without doubt see a criminal court in Barbados constituted of at least 4 high court judges, and this will make a big difference in helping us to get our criminal trials, especially the murder trials, through the system.
Prime Minister Mia Motley believes it's time the country moves on from its current criminal justice system, which she says is the legacy of Queen Victoria. The Prime Minister revealed that shortly before leaving government, the Barbados Labour Party had drafted a framework to change the legislation, which now hands out criminal convictions for regulatory offences, which most people do not consider crimes. She believes civil penalties are a better alternative.
So that a fellow who is selling without a license should not be subject to a criminal conviction. They should be subject to a civil penalty. And it is only when you are persistently repeating the same thing that you then go before the court, not for the not selling without a license, but for your continued attempt to undermine the rule of law, which then becomes criminal.
Touching on the topic of violence in schools, Prime Minister Motley also believes alternative dispute resolution and community intervention should be considered before the formal court system.
There's some strong headmistresses and headmasters in this country who were titans in their day, and strong priests, strong former police officers,
police sergeant, station sergeant,
who outside of a court system can bring people together, can bring families together that warring and disputing, and allow issues to be resolved. You can still go to court if that fails. But what do we lose by trying it? If it works, we've resolved without the institutionalization or the criminalization of citizens. Now that is development.
2 outstanding Barbadians are among 3 people being honored by the University of the West Indies. They are lyrical master Stetson Red Plastic Bag Wilshire, or RPB as he's familiarly known, and internet pioneer Alan Emtage. RPB, who is Barbados' most decorated calypsonian, will be conferred a Doctor of Letters by the University of the West Indies for his contribution to entertainment. The gifted writer has been in the entertainment business for almost 4 decades. He has been crowned Calypso King at the Pickety Crop competition 10 times and is the 2-time winner of the Tune of the Crop and the Sweet Soca competition.
I feel quite honored to be recognized in this way, and I want to say thanks to the University of the West Indies and the people of the Caribbean for seeing my work as worthy of such recognition. I want to say thanks to the people who have supported me over the years. It's your support that keeps me going.
The other Barbadian, Mr. Emtage, will receive a Doctor of Science for his sterling commitment to scientific invention. He wrote the code which helped to open our internet universe and is a founding member of the Internet Society. Mr. Emtage is also the only Caribbean person and person of African descent to be inducted into the Internet Hall of Fame. The third honoree is Trinidadian attorney at law Maxine Williams, who is currently the global head of diversity at Facebook. She will be conferred a Doctor of Law for leadership. Barbados and the region's ability to effectively implement their trade obligations under the CARIFORUM European Union Economic Partnership Agreement is being strengthened. It comes as the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality hosted a regional training and final validation workshop on the Economic Partnership Agreement and the World Trade Organization Technical Barriers to Trade and Compliance with Good Regulatory Practices. Minister of Small Business, Entrepreneurship and Commerce, Dwight Sutherland, says quality and compliance of goods and services with market requirements have been key elements of competitiveness in global relations.
A demand-driven quality culture together with a quality infrastructure system and its conformity assessment services support economic operators, in particularly small and micro enterprises, to achieve and prove conformity with market requirements to allow them to compete on international markets and connect to global value chains. I want you to bear with me this morning because I believe this is a very important session for us as a region and for us as a country as it relates to extra-regional trade.
The European Union is a partner of the venture. Trade policy manager with the EU delegation to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Adam Wisniewski, says CrossQ and representative national standards bureaus were eager to move forward in the implementation of EPA commitments.
This project, thanks to the efforts of many people in this room, was a success. The cooperation between PTB, CrossQ, and Indocal was a central and key factor that ensured the achievement of the project-specific results. And what transpired from that is that standards, technical regulations, and quality in an interconnected and globalized world represent a global challenge which can only be successfully addressed through cooperation among yourselves.
Barbados is planning to establish a national conservation fund to bankroll environmental conservation projects both on and offshore. This was revealed by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, Esworth Reed. Mr. Reed was speaking during the opening ceremony of the recently held Small Island Future Fest. Sharika Griffith reports.
The ban on single-use plastics and the identification of new marine protected areas are two of the initiatives introduced by the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy to protect Barbados's marine environment. The establishment of a National Conservation Fund is another. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, Esworth Reed, says the ministry is planning to approach stakeholders in the marine sector about this new initiative.
They will be approaching these people with the aim of identifying how best Barbados can, as others have done in the region, to establish a National Conservation Fund trust fund under the Companies Act or Charity Act of Barbados, which can be used to source funds for investment in conservation projects, both on land and at sea.
Mr. Reed was speaking during the inaugural Small Island Future Fest, a two-day festival dedicated to the environment. The event has the full support of Environment and National Beautification Minister Trevor Prescott, who wants it to be held annually to mark the end of Environment Month. He believes it demonstrates Barbados's continued leadership in addressing issues facing small island developing states.
In 2007, Barbados became the first country in the Caribbean and Latin America to develop a national green economy policy, and as such, my ministry remains committed to the implementation of this and other relevant policies which represent pathways to national sustainable development.
Deputy Resident Representative of the UNDP, Hugo Blanco, says Barbados must be commended for taking several bold steps in adapting to climate change and becoming resilient. These include the establishment of a Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy and finding innovative ways of dealing with the sargassum seaweed by converting it to fertilizers and cosmetics. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Checking in with our regional neighbors now, Ghanaian officials are urging Guyana to pursue oil exploration and production so that they can build capacity to fully manage their own resources in 2 decades or less. The call was made by the Executive Secretary of the Guyana Chamber of Commerce after signing a memorandum of understanding with the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have a report from Newsroom Guyana.
Executive Secretary of the Guyana Chamber of Commerce, Nuarte Ajaman, told the Guyanese press on Wednesday that Guyanese oil companies can pave the way for takeover of the oil and gas industry. The local industry is currently being developed by mostly foreign experts.
We are also hoping that indigenous Ghanaians will be given the opportunity to go and go and find oil by themselves, go and do the exploration by themselves, because you cannot rely on the foreign companies throughout your lifetime. You need to build capacity and put 3, 4, 5 Ghanaians or Ghanaians together, give them all the support that you can to let them start something. They may burn some money here and there, but that is the model Nigeria adopted, and today Nigerians, indigenous, are oil wells and they are producing oil in the marginal and shallow fields.
Ajaman and the president of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Nicholas Boyer, on Wednesday signed a 2-year memorandum of understanding to improve trade and share experiences in the oil and gas industry. His suggestion was supported by Mr. Boyer, who noted that such an undertaking is more feasible in near and onshore exploration for the business sector.
Onshore to nearshore, because onshore to nearshore, the complexity, the understanding of the engineering behind it is, in oil speak, relatively low. So it doesn't come with the risks that deep and ultra deep offshore come with.
In Trinidad and Tobago, motorists who break the road traffic laws can soon expect to get their tickets in the mail. This as the Ministry of Works and Transport is working speedily to bring amendments to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act. More in this TTT report.
It's part of the new age of road fatality management the Ministry of Works and Transport is establishing soon. The amendment to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act will include a new system for penalizing drivers who seem to drive colorblind.
We will photograph all vehicles violating the red light and generate a citation notice, which will be mailed out to the offenders.
A demerit point system will also be on stream, and this will be in line with the added responsibility bestowed upon the licensing officers.
A new point system will now equip the licensing authority with the right data to exercise its new statutory powers to suspend permits for the habitual errant drivers.
The minister reiterated the purpose of ticketing errant drivers is not to make money, but it's with the hope that motorists would drive more responsibly.
The more money you collect in fines doesn't say much for us. So this is definitely not a system to raise revenue. I would be very happy if when all this thing is in place that we collect zero. It means everybody is complying with the law.
So the next time you decide to break a red light and think you can get away with it, think again. Your ticket may just be in the mail.
A sex offender in Bermuda who failed to complete the required programs in accordance with the new legislation was not released from prison as scheduled. The territory's Attorney General says updated legislation regarding the handling of sex offenders, despite some teething problems, is proving to be effective.
Sex offenders who do not complete required programs during incarceration are not released at their earliest possible date, nor released on parole. This is a legal requirement contained in the Criminal Code Sex Offender Management Amendment Act 2018. Minister of Legal Affairs Kathy Lynn Simmons says at least one serious sex offender who was due to be released from Westgate 2 months ago had it deferred until he completes the required program. It's not understood what type of programs specifically need to be completed by offenders. The public is given notice when an offender deemed high risk of reoffending is due to be released. Another aspect of the changes to the legislation. This information is only disclosed after a psychological assessment done by the Department of Corrections determines a significant risk of reoffending or harm. The release of Junius Keynes, a convicted sex offender, was met with criticism recently after he successfully argued that wearing an electronic monitoring device as part of his release order would not be suitable due to interference with his medication. Keynes served a term of imprisonment after committing a serious sex offense on a woman and was released on June 24th this year. He is due to attend a court hearing next Wednesday for lawyers to present evidence that an EMD is harmful to his well-being. It's the policy of the Department of Court Services that all moderate or high-risk offenders who sexually offend against children will be fitted with an electronic monitoring device during the period of community supervision.